care of our own.
Right. You want to talk a little bit more, and then I can talk because I'm talking. Well, Michelle just said we need to take care of our own too, because we really do. I mean, it is. We've got veterans here, 22 suicides a day. They need help. It's overtaxed at the VA. We've got homeless people. We've got people who need help here. So I looked at the Bible to find out, what is evangelical Christianity? What is evangelical charity? I am the granddaughter of a Presbyterian minister, so I grew up in the Word. Many of the people who are standing with me today are children of pastors. And I had to leave my Presbyterian church because it went so far away from biblical principles that it was my job to leave. That was the biblical thing to do. Steeped in tradition with baptisms and funerals and everything, I had to leave that behind and find a Holy Spirit-based church. In Acts, we each have authority. We were left here with the helper that gives us the authority to disciple people. But it does not say, go to Syria, pick out angry people that are unvetted and you have no idea where they're coming from or whether they're terrorists or sexual predators or anything. Bring them over and pay for them and basically put them in what's basically turned out to be a witness protection program because DSS won't give any information on them. And for all you know, they're going to be right in the school system. We are in a battle of the minds and the souls of the American people, men, women, and children, and we need to all stand in the gap. So if I leave you with anything else, I just leave you with the fact that you need to pray, to recognize that we are a Judeo-Christian nation. We are not a Muslim nation, and those two things cannot coexist. Islam is a theocracy, and the ritualistic aspect of it is not dangerous. And the ritualistic, I mean the praying at a certain time and washing and certain things like that. The aspect of it that does not separate out and is completely incompatible with the law of our land is the jurisdictional and political arm. And that is what's come into our country, and I would submit to you that that is what is practiced in the mosques. So Mohammed Atta planned the attack of the 9/11 two trade centers in a Heidelberg mosque. It was shut down because they found that they were doing that. So if I leave you with anything else, it's that I was going to bring my William Wallace sword. I've got a really cool replica, and it's huge. And I use it symbolically to take back territory. I believe that each one of us has the authority to take back the territory for your family. I believe that we have the duty to do it. I didn't want to push that, bringing the sword into the public school system. The art of war is to win the war without raising the sword. Our enemy is very good at what he's doing. The enemy comes to lie, steal, and destroy, and it has many, many faces. It's not just jihadis. It's diluted scripture that confuses people. It's diluted scripture that lobbies for immigration in the name of evangelical. That's a deception. We need to call it out, people. We need to call out what's going on in our own lives and get it right. And then we can have the authority and the power to take back the territory. And when I say Judeo-Christian, it doesn't mean that I want everybody to believe like I do. But it just means that I won't kill you if you do. And it means that the First Amendment needs to be clarified about what it protects. It does not protect rape. It does not protect crime. It does not protect, human sacrifice, that kind of thing. It just doesn't. We need to stand on our authority, we need to stand on our law, and we need to take it back. And that's why I wrote the cease and desist letter, and Michelle stood up and she became the client. All right.
I just want to read one quote from an executed Nazi resistor. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act.
Thank you. It's going to take an effort of all of us. It's going to take brave people, a lot of brave people. It's going to take people with a lot of information, people who aren't afraid to stand up and push back. And that's why I'm so glad you're here tonight to learn. Evan Mulch. Evan Mulch is going to come up and say just a few words. We have about 5 or 6 speakers, and they're going to keep it brief, and then we're going to go into our keynote speaker. We'll take a short break before we have our keynote speakers to come up.
Thank you, Jim. All right, I'm so glad to see so many people here. I am the coordinator in South Carolina for the John Birch Society. We are a Christian Judeo organization, and we call out the New World Order for what it is. The New World Order works with the United Nations, and with what we're seeing with this refugee resettlement, this is exactly part of the New World Order game plan. And so those of us in Spartanburg County, we need to start calling a spade a spade. I will say there's other things that have been happening. Obamacare, that's also another plan in their playbook. I want to point out Representative Bill Chumley. If we had more brave people, I mean, I know we do, but if every representative in the State House was like Bill Chumley, we would have stopped Obamacare. We need more brave people like Bill. We need them in our county council. We need them. We need people walking door to door talking about these things. I travel across the state. I teach people about these things that are going on. Afterwards, if you want to stop by and look at my booth over here, I've plenty of information about what's happening. With bringing all these refugees over here, let's say we bring over 65,000. How many people think that it's going to be hard on our local police? Is it going to be difficult for our local police? Well, part of their plan is to nationalize the police. Reverend Al Sharpton said in December that he wants President Obama to nationalize the police. If this happens, we lose local control. That's another strategy that is going to go their way unless we have to know what their playbook is. So Lauren is right when, you know, the art of war is you just never want to raise the sword. But at the same time, we as citizens of South Carolina, citizens of Spartanburg County, Greenville County, wherever you came from, we have to know what's in their playbook. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll be over here to talk with everybody afterwards.
Thank you, Evan. I tell you, after that plug for Bill Chumley, I should bring him up next. Guess what? I'm not. We're going to save him. We're going to let John Schaefer come speak to you just a minute about the effects this is going to have on DSS.
Thank you, Jim. Everybody knows the DSS has been under tremendous scrutiny for 2 years or more. Part of the reason, actually the main part of the reason is because they're not able to do the job that they're supposed to be doing now. Just this past legislative session, the legislature allocated how many millions of dollars to DSS so they could hire 200 new caseworkers just to handle the load that they've got now. And that's not even going to catch them up for quite a good while. It's going to take a minimum of a year to train and get these 200 new DSS workers into the field. Now, they want to overload the system even more by bringing in all these refugees and assigning DSS workers to handle their social services. Now, how are they going to do that? The money's not there to take care of South Carolina's kids. How are they going to handle all these other people? The overload on DSS is going to be tremendous. And I just don't think it's a viable option. I really don't. I have been an advocate for South Carolina's children and families for over 7 years. I founded and I'm the founder and director of the Grandparents' Rights Association of the USA. We've got legislation passed in South Carolina to keep families together, for family preservation. And we're talking South Carolina families. How in the world is this overload going to make that any easier to to take care of. It just can't happen. And that's my big problem with this whole refugee thing is, where's the money going to come from to handle it? Is the federal government going to give DSS a whole bunch of extra money to pay all these caseworkers that they're going to have to pay them to handle the additional caseload? Or is it just going to be another one of those unfunded mandates? I suspect it'll be an unfunded mandate, because I haven't heard anything from anybody about how this thing is going to get funded, from the DSS standpoint or any other standpoint for that matter. But to my way of thinking, just the DSS aspect alone is enough to kill it. We can't afford this program in South Carolina. It's just that simple. And really, that's the bottom line. We cannot afford it. DSS can't handle it. They're already overloaded. They've got caseworkers handling sometimes as many as 60 caseworkers by their own testimony to the South Carolina Senate, when the recommended caseload for a caseworker is around, 12 or 13. How are they going to handle the extra? That's what I want to know. And I haven't heard an answer from them. I think we all need to hear an answer from them. And based on that, I don't know what else I can say, guys.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna bring Representative Chumley. Come on up and say a word to us tonight.
Thank you so much. Certainly a pleasure to be here and see this great turnout. And which one? Wire. Step up. How about that? Okay. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. I really do appreciate this. And what this is, in a lot of ways, in most ways, what this tonight is a meeting of information. We need to know the facts, and that's a good thing. It's never a bad thing. We need to know, we need to communicate, and we need to have the facts, and that's what this is all about. And I certainly appreciate our speaker we have coming up tonight and all the ones that are going to tell us these things, and so we'll be able to there's a lot of things going around it. Maybe this is right, maybe that's not right, but we're going to try to clear that up. Thanks, Evan, for that really nice words. I appreciate that. It's just like, as they say, it's just like I wrote it. But anyway, I do have a lot of good help in Columbia, believe it or not. And two of them are with me right now. It's Representative Mike Burns, Travelers Rest. Senator Tom Corbin, Travelers Rest area. These guys have been down there. Actually, Tom and I went in together in the house. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you just a minute. This is going to be fast. But we went in together, and Tom is a real conservative warrior. Mike is unbelievable. He is. I prayed for help when I went in down there. I prayed for somebody that kind of thought like I did, got it. So that's all I want to say about him. He'll get a big head. So anyway, it certainly is good to have help down there, and I do. I really appreciate that. I thought I would take just a minute while I'm here, if I could. And we have any elected officials? I know we have some that are here. I don't know that. Okay, let me get this out here. You got your list? Yeah. All right. Okay, let's go. Councilman Bob Walker, Spartanburg, over here. Councilman Lynn Ballard, Greenville. Willis Meadows. Councilman Willis Meadows, Greenville. Greenville County Council. Councilman Calvin Cohen, Duncan. He's here. We have Bill Connolly, Spartanburg GOP Chairman. And Larry Bradley, we have some candidates here. Larry Bradley, candidate for school board here. And we have a candidate for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. Okay. Thank you so much. Very good. And some people that you're going to hear from later that put this together. Really do appreciate that. That's all I'm going to say. But thank y'all so much for being here. And standing together like this is what this is about. And I know you'll notice all these issues that we've got going on now, and there are lots of them. We're having to fight constantly for the families and our family values. So there's a lot of things out there, and we're going to keep on pushing and doing the best we can. And we'll get out of the way and let somebody that with some substantial things to say take this over. And so I'll let Burns, Representative Burns, say a word.
Real quickly, I know we got an expert here. We want to learn. There's a lot of things going by us that we need to be educated on. Today, Senator Corbin and I were in northern Greenville County. The Howard family suffered a tragic loss that you've read and heard about. Young fireman, 31 years of age, and as we left the church at Marietta to go to Cleveland, to where his interment was, the highway had hundreds of people in the line going up, and it reminded me back in the old days, the 1950s and 60s, when everybody pulled off the road that could. They stood, they had flags out, they put their hands over their hearts and let the procession go by. This immigration fiasco that we're in the middle of is going to take away the very things that we're dear about. Just that example right there. Things that we're used to, that we treasure, will melt away, and we can't afford to let that happen. If you would get on a plane and go to a vacation spot somewhere out of these United States, and you would come back in and you did not have your passport, and you didn't have any of your credentials and your driver's license, and you didn't know where your address was, and you got to the line to get in, how far do you think you would get? You wouldn't get anywhere. This whole process is utterly ridiculous. Everybody knows it's ridiculous. And we really ought to have 124 House members standing with us tonight. And we really ought to have 46 senators with us tonight. And half of those folks we first heard, last spring that they were coming to Spartanburg. And we thought, well, that's payback to Representative Gowdy. And now we find out half of them are over in Greenville County already that have come. And they can be in a town or a neighborhood near you and you don't even know it. And so it's time for you to get in touch with your legislators, national, local, your councilmen, and turn the burners up. It is effective. The first year I was in the House, there was an issue on school choice. And it was going not to pass. And it was overwhelmingly not to pass. And that very morning, the emails lit up, and it was unlike anything I've seen before or since. Within an hour, it passed overwhelmingly because the people stood up. You got to stand up. You got to care about these things. So make no doubt, you know how I feel. Now you can find out how Senator Tom Corbin feels.
Thank you. Y'all just want me to say dittos and sit down? I do want to introduce one other elected official here. Bruce Henderson from York County is here. Thank you. Well, thank you, and I'll also be brief. I just want you to know that it is Sunday night. I got up this morning, went to Sunday school, went to preaching, attended a funeral for a friend and a fallen firefighter, and now I'm over here. When I leave here, I've got another meeting. But folks, it matters. I remember when we first started fighting Obamacare, you and I met in the Twin Sisters Cafe when I was still in the House of Representatives. Southern Sisters, I apologize. We went to the wee hours of the night plotting to take this thing out, trying to craft this bill with the help of your son and some other far more brilliant people than myself. And then, of course, I went on to the Senate and helped you fight it over there. But I want to tell you this, that when that bill got dropped, it was said in the legislature, it'll never see the light of day. It'll never get a hearing. It'll never move. It's dead as soon as it was dropped. And if it weren't for people like you coming out and making it happen, just like Representative Burns said, everything that we care about would die. We're up here, but we can't do it alone. I appreciate you all being here. We've got to stay in the fight together, because when that State House began to get packed out, meeting after meeting after meeting, they finally got it. And if we stand together, they'll finally get it again. Thank you.
Dan Harvell, you're in the house. Dan's from Anderson County. He's the county chairman from Anderson.
Thank you, Jim. I don't have anything to add other than dittos to what the good senator and the two representatives said here. But what I would like to give you all is I would like to convey a few words of encouragement. It is the common citizen that actually can drive the government and what happens to us all if we're willing to get involved. But the thing about it is we each have to develop a spine so that we're not shy and we're not withdrawing, and we will go and do what needs to be done. And that includes going to county council meetings, going to the State House, and I want to tell you one short story, and then I'll sit down to defer to the more important people here. In 2002, there was a crisis in this state concerning property taxes on individual houses. There were 5 of us, and mainly from this area, that went to Columbia and tried to do something about it. Now, this ended up resulting in Act 388, which a lot of the people, especially the schools, absolutely hate, because it actually put government on a budget, a real budget, because it limited the assessment cycle, and it also put the school operations on took that off the personal homes. But anyway, that was a 600. Well, by now it's been into the billions of tax relief that has been conveyed to the homeowners of the state of South Carolina. It's been a great thing, and a lot of people who would have possibly lost their homes in certain areas of the state due to overbearing property taxes have not. They've been able to stay there. Now, I tell you this, just to go to one step further in how important involvement is. We started with 5 people in 2002. By 2006, when the legislation was passed, we had gone from 5 people to 200,000 people. We had raised $250,000 for the effort, and we were as well known in the State House chambers as the lobbyists that had been there years before us. We would go onto the elevators in the Senate and House office building and have the secretaries begging us to call our people off because they had never seen a groundswell of ordinary citizen support for something like they had this. So anyway, that's what needs to happen with this. That is what it will take for us to seize control of this situation and do it as citizens. So I just encourage you to stand up. Don't let the governmental bureaucrats and officials beat you down, because we can win this effort.
He's right. It takes people that are willing to be brave and stand up and get involved. While our next speaker's coming, I'm going to take just a minute and tell you a quick, funny little story that happened. Michelle and I were in New York, and we were there on business, and we got out of the car and we went immediately to the subway. I've only told this story one other time, I think. We immediately went to the subway. We got on the subway, and we were sitting there, and the door wouldn't close on the subway. And the conductor came on the loudspeaker and he said, "Whoever's blocking the door on the subway, please stand back. We can't pull from the station until the door's closed." Well, the door just quivered a few times. He came on again. He said, "Would you please stand away from the door?" And it just quivered. And there was a burly fellow standing over there near the door, and Michelle said, "Go over and close that door." And he walked over and he timidly shook it a little bit, and it didn't do anything. About that time, the loudspeaker came on again and said, "It is against the law to block the door. Stand back." Michelle got up. She walked over to the door. She kicked the door. It shoved back up in there, and then it shut. She walked back over to me, and she said, "I've been in New York for 5 minutes. I've already had to fix their subway system." So that's what we need. We need people who are willing to get involved. Christina, come on. What I tried to say a while ago about Christina was there's no pride in authorship here. All we want to do is stop this program.
Yes. It's actually a bad program. I'm going to trot out my public administration credentials and tell you that it is not well conceived, not well run, not well thought out. It's unnecessary, it's expensive, and it's dangerous, and we really need to end the refugee resettlement program. And then we need to go after the diversity lottery. Look up the State Department diversity lottery. You will be appalled. Anyway, I have to assign homework. You know, I know it's late Sunday night, but we got a week coming up. Google Spartanburg Refugee Resettlement Program. Google that, and it will take you to your homework. Your homework is about 90 pages of text and 30 pages of notes. Hey, you know. Fortunately for you, I did some editing, but I did not write it. It was written by a fiction writer, but it is not fiction. It is true, and it is case studies of places like Spartanburg and what happened, facts, and what you need to do. Everybody, you wouldn't be here if you're not willing to get involved, so obviously you're willing to be involved. Arm yourselves with the facts. Know what you're talking about. And that little book will help you. It's double-spaced, easy reading, and free. So please, Spartanburg Refugee Resettlement Program, and you will find it. Now, I have the great privilege of introducing to you a beautiful speaker, not that we're not all beautiful up here, but a beautiful speaker who I was lucky enough to sit next to yesterday, and spilled water all over her, and she's still apparently not mad. She is the founder of the Remembrance Project, and she takes a quilt called the Stolen Lives Quilt around to remind people of, at a personal level, what we mean when we say it's dangerous to bring unvetted people to live next door to innocent citizens who don't deserve for the country to abandon them in that way. Maria Espinosa, will you please come forward? Oh, there you are. You're over there. Thank you. She delayed going home to her family so she could speak to you all tonight. Thank you, Maria.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Christine. And yes, I think God had a big hand in all of this here today. And I met Lauren online. She's my Facebook friend. And thank you. And Christine, thank you so much. Diane, thank you so much for opening your home to me. I don't know where you are, and I just took my glasses off. Oh, dear, sorry. That's how bad my eyesight is. Mike, it's good to see you again. Thank you all for being here, and love what all of these representatives are saying. You've really got some spunk, and that's exactly what we need here to get our country back. And we started this back in 2009, so 6 years we've been doing this, and the Remembrance Project was started by my husband and myself because in Houston, Texas, I like that clock. Okay. In Houston, Texas, there were 5 of the last police officers were killed by illegal aliens. So we did our research, and the more we researched and we started a database, we found out that illegal alien killings were rampant all across the United States, not just the border states like you would think, but everywhere. Every state had a problem, and all of these killings were preventable. So we were very disheartened and I had a conversation with Diane, and this is not where we expect it to be. I don't want to be here. I'd rather be home with my husband, drinking a margarita in the backyard. But here we are today, and once you pull that curtain back, you just simply can't turn around. You can't walk away from that. So we dove into it. We created the Stolen Lives Quilt banners because it's a way that we can show the public, that you can show your representatives, all of your legislators on every level, your community, take them to town hall meetings and put the faces of Americans who've been killed by illegal aliens, Americans who should still be here with their families, going to school, raising their children, taking care of their elderly parents, being part of our society and making this country great. And I will show you the Stolen Lives Quilt banners. If I can get two ladies come up here to hold the banners for me real quick, I'll show you how impactful they are. And I will tell you that, yes, these are what we call the Stolen Lives Quilt banners. One is an individual, which we give to the families who are active and who want to remember their families and memorialize them. It's a picture of the city and state, the brief description of how they were killed. And sometimes we get a note from the parents. Here, the young lady who was a mother of 5, her children put that little note there that they missed their cheerleader mom. This is the everyday pain that you see on these quilts. Yes, you can take them around. That would be good. We also created a new initiative, America First Latinos, because it seems every time that we stand up as Americans against refugees or the UACs, the unaccompanied minors, or unaccompanied children, we're called racist, we're called names. So the America First Latinos was created in order to push back that narrative. I have a few stories that I want to share. And this is what is happening, again, all across the nation. In Pearland, Texas, Joshua Wilkerson, an 18-year-old boy, went to school one day. An illegal alien 18-year-old acquaintance of his classmate beat him. He kicked him in the stomach so hard that his spleen was ripped in two through his spine. He was hit over the head with a closet iron that it broke in 4 places. He was choked and released. He was bound. He was put in a truck, dumped in a field, and set on fire. Spencer Goldvatch, he was killed, and that was a dreamer who killed Joshua Wilkerson. Spencer Goldvatch, again, Houston, Texas, a sanctuary city. He was shot while he waited at a traffic light. Random shooting. That night, the illegal alien who was safe in the sanctuary city of Houston was angry with his girlfriend because she would not go out with him that night. He went on a rampage and shot 4 people, 2 of them fatally. Spencer was an entrepreneur. This is what America is losing. An entrepreneur who had 3 jobs. He employed 9 people. He was a musician. He owned a small guitar shop. He took an extra job so that he could be sure and meet his obligations as an employer. As you know, Kate Steinle, another young lady in San Francisco walking with her father. That illegal alien had been deported 5 times and a felon, but he found refuge in San Francisco. So the city of San Francisco felt that it was more important to create a safe haven for this illegal alien criminal than it was for a young lady whose parents paid taxes, who was a good person, an American. They simply have it backwards right now. Last May, and the urgency that I probably display here is because last May we met with Jay Johnson, Secretary of Homeland Security, sat across from him, and I read him a letter that we wrote on behalf of the families asking him to do his job, secure the homeland. I also read him a quick 3-sentence email that Mrs. Ruiz had asking him as to why the government does not use a 1922 treaty to bring the criminal killer who stabbed her daughter over 39 times and is free in Venezuela to raise a family of his own and raise 2 children and be married. Something that her daughter did not have the privilege of doing as an American. American girl in America, killed on American soil, and our government does not use that treaty to bring her killer to justice. You know what Jay Johnson said? I am not here to be intimidated by you. Ladies and gentlemen, that intimidation takes place on every level of government, including the highest. There were a few times that we had a kind of a look, a stare down. But you know, when you have the shoulders of the American people, their safety and welfare and the families that we speak to on a daily basis, just weighing on you, we have a responsibility. And every one of us has that responsibility to, if not our own families, and I know you love your families, to everyone else as well. But Jay Johnson, he left that room, he scurried out of that room, did not shake my hand. That is our high level of officials that we're dealing with right now. It does not, and it trickles down. And we are dealt with like these refugees that we have to deal with in our communities, in our streets. And something I believe Representative Burns mentioned was the culture. When the killer of Joshua Wilkerson was on that stand, he said, my culture, my culture. He mumbled that over and over. It's very different. Absolutely right, it's different. We do have killers here. That culture is a stark difference from what America is used to and how we raise our children. You know, what you have is illegal aliens, the refugees, those who are given temporary legal status. Temporary legal status. It's incredible what this administration is doing. And I also want you to know that the Remembrance Project is part of the lawsuit that Texas filed and the 25 states against Obama's executive actions. The Remembrance Project, yes. We are doing what we can to fight and push back and help all of our families, the most ignored and the most suffering, those who are most suffering right now. Know that, and I know you know this, but I want to say this. When these people come into our country, they want to institute their own laws, take over our cities. They will create enclaves where it's safe for you and I not to even travel in. You can see what's going on in Europe when someone can't even walk into a neighborhood and be beaten up. They will tell us which laws to follow, and it will not be American laws. Is it included in that time? Okay. Yes, so, and it will be more difficult to get them out. Y'all know that. Our recourse to get them out will be much more difficult than when we stand there and say no way. Look at what they did in California. They blocked the buses in Marietta. And a little civil disobedience I'll share. In Texas, we blocked the bridge, one of the bridges, international bridges between Mexico and Texas. Yeah. It was a bit scary because we had these big border agents, and one Hispanic border agent was not very happy that we were a little show some civil disobedience. However, they were okay with allowing illegal aliens to come in our country, and when an American stands for our families to make a point that if they cannot have a double standard, either they uphold our laws or they don't. And I just couldn't give up that little piece of real estate when we were there. You know, and we went with a family, and I looked over and I saw that they were holding their sons. Stolen Life's Quilt panel, and another agent he happened to be a border agent, but at the time that he was shot, Javier Vega, he was picnicking and fishing with his family out on the river. No, I will not give up this piece of real estate, Mr. Border Agent. Nikki Haley, I hope she realizes that she will successfully proclaim a violence and a war against young girls and women in this country when she allows these Muslims to come in here. Please remind her. Congressman Gowdy, please tell him to stand strong. And we have no problem, because we are championing our families, to talk with, nicely, of course, but sternly to these legislators and tell them that, no, I will not support your bill, Congressman Gowdy, if you are negotiating with illegal aliens. And that's what we did a couple years ago. He asked for our support on the SAFE Act, the Strengthen and Fortify Act. And we would not do that because we're not giving an inch. Why should we negotiate with illegal aliens? There's a way, there's a front door. If they come in the back door, it's not acceptable. And in closing, what I want to say is to please keep up your hard work. Yes, we're tired, but look where we are. Look, I never thought I'd be here traipsing across the country giving speeches and insisting that people, our legislators, uphold laws. We never thought we'd be here. And look at you. We're scrappy. I'm not good at anything. I'll speak for myself. I'm not good at anything. But you know what? When I really put my heart into it, we're going to make something happen. And we are making something happen. And imagine where America would be without you. And two things here. I just want to say that look to your sheriffs, and some of you ladies who have been Christine and Diane and Lauren and y'all, check into your sheriffs. And I know you have a candidate here, and see if your sheriffs can block these refugees from coming here, because your sheriff is very powerful. He can keep the federal government out of your county. Your county sheriff is powerful. I want to thank you, and I will take questions. So God bless y'all, and keep up the fight. Please pray for our families. And we have 28 state directors, y'all, so I do need ones in South Carolina. Yes. Thank you. TheRemembranceProject.org. TheRemembranceProject.org, and also the America First Latinos is the same, AmericaFirstLatinos.org. Saw someone else, yes. Yes, we collaborate with them. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And I have been to every border south, and I have gone on a night watch, and we looked for illegal aliens, actually, just observing and reporting, and 4 of them got away, but it's really rough out there. And I've got to squint. Good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the sheriff is the highest constitutional officer in any county. And if a law that is unconstitutional and being imposed on us, the sheriff has the right to turn around and tell them to get off that bus, get on this bus, and we're taking you back to where you came from.
Yes. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, and I fully support what Lauren is doing. We're doing something similar as well in laying the groundwork right now, because when we get a good administration in there, then all of this support that her documentation that she's making right now will just go in effect. And I also want to have to say that we don't endorse Mr. Donald Trump. However, we are so happy that he has spoken the words, and we have set up for Mr. Trump in 4 different areas in 4 different states for him to meet with the families in LA, in Phoenix, in Massachusetts, and then just recently in Dallas. So just know that. That's the stuff that you don't hear. And he is compassionate and very sincere in his meeting with the families. So just know that. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, you should. That's where your strength lies, is in the masses. That's why you should be speaking with and rallying with your neighbors and your friends and your churches, speaking to everyone. And whatever information you have, your club leaders will give that to you. And be organized so we can, that's what the other side does. You know, they have organized for decades. So, you know, don't be disappointed if things aren't happening quick enough. They have 40 years on us. And we are doing very, very well. Thank you. Oh, one more. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's very good, and our director out there is very supportive of him, too. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. It's time's up. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I was very pleased to hear that she said y'all one time. Yeah. I'm just wondering if Mike Cutler's going to say y'all. How are we going to know when they're coming? They're already here. There's another wave getting ready to come into Spartanburg County. Where? What? If a question can be answered, we'll answer it. If we can't answer it, then there's probably not an answer to it. But we'll get to that. Do y'all want to take a 5-minute break? Yeah. 5 minutes, okay. All right, 5 minutes, quick.